The first morning that I turned up at Tollgate Primary School, I took one look at the building. It was run down, it was bleak, it was unattractive. And the first impression that gave was one of not a very stimulating or inviting environment. I was quite worried what I would see beyond those doors inside. Good morning, morning.
Morning.
Good morning, how are you? Good morning.
Tollgate was an underachieving school. He'd gone into a category by Ofsted, a school of concern. There was a sense of shock in the local community, and many of our parents lost faith and confidence in the school. And therefore, their first action was to remove their children to neighbouring primary schools. And obviously, that caused a buzz in the local streets and community around here, and the school very quickly got a very poor reputation.
As a parent, I would say that I wanted the best for my children, but probably I wasn't getting it.
Good morning.
Well, 4 years ago, the school was different. And at that time, I had no choice but putting my children into this school.
Hello, Ofsted. How are you? How are you? Morning.
I had to market the school because if the school was going to be viable and stay open, we needed a healthy pupil role. My original developments in school had to be visibly seen, so parents could see where I was putting my priorities in, where I was spending money.
Years ago, with the paint peeling off the walls, the heating system, just really basic things that make your life, more comfortable, weren't taken into account.
This particular stairwell was one of the worst and run-down stairwells in the school. It really sent a message that the school hadn't spent money on its infrastructure for many, many years, and therefore the central message it gave to children that the school wasn't a very positive or good place to be. So it's important for me to really bring back corporate colours in the school, to put the logos around the school so children could feel proud of being at Tollgate.
The school was like there was no decorations, all the walls were blank, and now it looks really nice and it's really good to come to.
This is the main central corridor of the school. On my first visit, what I saw was a very bleak area that was run down, peeling paintwork, the smell of damp. So what we've done, we've radicalised it in terms of reclaiming it for the children, filling it with beautiful artwork that represents all the various ethnicities in school. And also, all the artwork you'll see here is surrounded by community languages to give the community languages status in the building as well.
It's just changed in many ways. It's more of a fun place to be than before.
Tuck that head in, right into your head, okay? And I want you to imagine what it would be like to be tiny.
When I first arrived, I went in to observe every teacher in the school. And what really impressed me, there were some very, very good teachers who were working in this building with very little support in terms of teaching and learning in service. So their morale and their motivational levels had been de-skilled by this label of the school going into a category. So with such potential, I then looked at employing an advanced skills teacher. An advanced skills teacher who specialised in pedagogy, learning and teaching in the primary classroom.
Before we start, is there anybody who needs to be wearing their glasses, just to remind you of that? No, we're all set, fantastic. And any of the boys in here with your focus targets, any that you might want to use? David?
I would like to use presentation today.
Presentation would be important. When I applied for the job, Tom had been here for just over 6 months. On the grapevine within the borough, what he was doing here was very exciting and something that I thought I want to be part of. Anyone think of the decimal that they got that they think is equivalent to 2/5? Nadia?
0.4.
Okay, can anyone explain to me how they think Nadia arrived at that answer of 0.4? Maisha?
If you times the denominator by 2, which is 10, and the numerator by 2, which is 4, it's...
In a school on a road to recovery like this, there's no such thing as satisfactory teaching. Our children need good teaching or better. And to provide that, we needed the highest skilled, highest qualified teachers possible. And that was going to be expensive. So I really applaud my governors because they were brave and they were willing to put money on the table.
Maisha took 2/5 here. She converted.
We're willing to give incentives to teachers to attract teachers down to this school, knowing that they were going to take a risk with their professional career.
And then if you think about it in terms of our units, our tenths and our hundreds, the school had been in a position where teaching hadn't been as strong as it could be. Make this into a place value. We did find, when we did our initial audits at the start, that modelling was absent from most of the lessons observed. And I think it's kind of when schools are overloaded and there's lots of pressure, they're kind of trying to fight all corners at once. Okay, happy with that? Well done. Anyone tell me that as a percentage then, and let's speed up. A key.
40%.
40%, good boy, well done. We made it quite clear to all members of staff what we wanted in a lesson, what was a good lesson structure, because we want to make sure that the children know what we expect them to do.
I want you to think about what you could do if you were tiny.
When I first started, Ruxana was an NQT. I worked alongside Ruxana, co-team planning, team teaching and delivering demo lessons as and where appropriate.
I was tiny. Go to a house and do some toys.
Okay, what would we always start our sentences with?
If I was tiny, I would.
I also was involved in the implementation of the National Literacy Strategy. The school had previously not been using that.
Give me something else. Thick. What could this be? Monica.
Jelly.
Jelly.
With the literacy strategy and everything that it brought with it in terms of the way in which you deliver a lesson and lesson structure, we were able to redefine lesson structure across the school and actually raise the bar with regard to the learning and teaching scores that we wanted.
This was a very underdeveloped and unattractive piece of playground space that children never used because there was nothing here to play in. So we created a sensory garden, and children now come here at playtimes and lunchtimes with their books to reflect and to talk with friends and to really enjoy the environment.
I like it now because we've made some new things like here where we read quietly before we didn't have this.
Right, we're meeting today to have a look at our assessment and our tracking of our underachieving children. We've been tracking these children carefully for the last 2 terms. We're actually looking at our green children. These are the children who are making good progress. Mm-hmm. The children on the yellow are those children who are staying at about the same level, but the children we really need to focus on are the ones on the reds, because these are the children who have actually dipped during our last round of testing.
3-4 years ago, we were really trailing below with very, very poor attainment in school. Key Stage 2 SATS results, for example, in the 40% range. 3 years on now, our Key Stage SATS results are in the 80% range. The difficult thing is the sustainability of that. So we're very thorough and diagnostic in our assessment data to make sure that we can really challenge each cohort to move them on in progressive and continuous units.
Previously in assessment, we didn't have actually a very good structure for tracking the children on a one-to-one basis. So what we've actually developed in literacy, maths and science is actually tracking the children every term to make sure that their levels are staying the same and colour-coding them, and then involving teachers in that process by having meetings with them every half-term to actually assess what strategies we can put into place to make sure that they're achieving.
This was a very run-down hall with peeling paintwork, damp again, and so what we decided to do was to theme it every term. This term's theme is healthy eating, and very cleverly the teachers and all the support staff get together to disguise what's actually underneath here. And what's actually underneath here is peeling paintwork. So they've been very clever at revitalising a dead area in the school and making it really vibrant and attractive for children.
I remember originally when we had our discussions about display being big, bold, exciting and brave, it caused a lot of concern for a lot of staff. And looking back, I should have realised that perhaps that's quite threatening, taking people out of their comfort zone. But we jumped in it together and we got outside local authority advice and support. And once we had one prototype that people could see visually and buy into it, then we started to roll it out across the school.
Okay, we'll look at our learning objectives. We're going to begin our session by rehearsing the ability to convert fractions, decimals and percentages mentally. So AFL in the school has been fundamental in the school's transformation. It gave teachers an opportunity to tighten up their objectives, and in tightening objectives it led to clear and precise success criteria. Our success criteria, we will know how fractions can be converted to decimals and percentages by considering place value. Are you ready? Yes. Okay, off you go. Tell your friend next to you. That not only supported the teachers by scaffolding their modelling process, but then it gave children the tool to measure their own progress in the course of a lesson in order to meet the lesson objective. Okay, can you show me? 3, 2, 1, show me on your boards. Who can tell me the fraction on there? Afsar.
That decimal is 1/4.
Okay, Afsar, can I challenge you here? Can I ask you, what would another fraction be that's a similar equivalence to 0.25?
2/8.
2/8, well done. Okay, a percentage then that's equivalent to 0.25. Munasar.
25%.
Okay, everybody, thumbs up if you agree with Afsar's answer and Munasar's answer. Okay, that's thumbs up from everybody. Well done. Get ready for your next discussion.
One of the big things for me is embedding AFL across all classrooms. We've got some very, very good, effective practice in assessment for learning that is quite outstanding in some rooms, but I wanted to have that shared across all classes.
I think where I've seen it is really good is when the children self-assess and the teachers use questioning to ascertain whether children really have understood. And I think when that's done in some classes, it's excellent, and where it's falling down on is in other classes, the satisfactory lessons.
That's probably best met through team teaching.
Yes.
And teacher modelling.
As we haven't set the staff meetings yet, then put some of this into our staff
In
meetings.
so many schools where 1 or 2 year groups are out of sync with the others in terms of progression, in terms of types of teaching. I didn't want that to happen here. I wanted to provide my teachers with a safety net, a scaffold that supports their teaching and learning. Do you think this has radically raised our game in terms of the quality of teaching and learning in school?
Oh, definitely, because I think it's opening people up to using different ways of teaching and teacher modelling and things like that, definitely.
And if I was to make an assessment in terms of the impact for children's learning,
They were saying they felt they knew about their own learning.
Especially when they can reel off all their own levels now and things like that.
I know 100% that the school is working for my child and my child only, and each child in the school is felt like they are the most important child in here, and each teacher takes it upon themselves to make sure they're getting their best education that child can physically get.
one of the easiest ways to get parents back on board in terms of regaining their trust in school was opening the doors. So parents started coming back in the classrooms. We started a PTA in school. Parents became helpers in our library. Parents came on outings with us. Simple little things that other schools took for granted were starting to happen. I think that's what a school should be, that a child is enveloped with absolute exceptional practice through their journey from a young tot, 3 years old, right through to 11.